Hey everyone, welcome. Today we are going through, as you can see by the title, my Playbill collection. I have a decent amount of them, so this is probably going to be a pretty long video, but if you enjoy musicals, then stay. You might enjoy this. I'm going to be kind of going through stories of how I saw these different shows, my experiences, and sharing some of the ones that have signatures and stage door experiences, stuff like that. I'm not going to be going in depth about all of them because a bunch of them I have talked about already in my Top 10 Musicals of the Decade video, which I think I was wearing the same shirt in, but you can actually read it now, my show tune shirt. This is just going to be like a casual talking about Broadway fun stuff, so if you enjoy that, then stick around. If I look like disgustingly sweaty and my hair is like greasy and gross, it's because it's like 1,000 degrees in here, so sorry, this is just what you're getting today. So I have 37 different playbills to go through. Some of them are repeats. They're Broadway and off-Broadway shows. I just want to put a disclaimer before this that I don't mean this to be like braggy or like, oh, look how many shows I've seen, because that's not an accomplishment. I'm not judging anybody based on how many shows you've seen or not. Like, you can be a theater fan no matter if you've seen 1,000 shows or 0. Like, it's fine. As long as you like musicals, then you're a musical fan. And I know, obviously, I have very, very fortunate that in my lifetime I've been able to see so many shows. Like, that's obviously not something most people get to experience at all, let alone as many times as I have. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and I just want to share my enthusiasm with you guys, especially in this time where no one is going to see theater. So I thought it would be like a lighthearted thing to talk about. So before we dive into the meat with the actual playbills, I want to just go through some of the other national tours and regional shows that I've seen that I think are kind of noteworthy. So national tours, I've seen a decent amount now because when I was in college I went to go see a lot. I've seen Fiddler, I saw Hedwig with Ewan Morton, I saw Mean Girls, I saw Hello Dolly with Carolee Carmello, and I saw Rent. Most of those were in Philadelphia, and Hedwig was in New Jersey. Also regional shows that I've seen, so I'm from New Jersey, like I said. The Paper Mill Playhouse is a pretty big regional theater. You might have heard of it. They won a special Tony for regional theaters a couple of years ago. It's pretty well known. They do a lot of world premieres and stuff there. Yeah, so I saw a lot of shows at the Paper Mill growing up, but most notably are Hunchback, which I've talked about on this channel before, and 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. Now that one may not seem like it was a big deal, but Ali Stroker was in it. You might know her. She was on Glee for an episode, and she was in Spring Awakening on Broadway, and then last year she was in Oklahoma, and she actually won the Tony. She's the first wheelchair user to win a Tony. She's really awesome. And my mom actually got to be on stage at that show, because I don't know if you know Spelling Bee, they have like audience participation, so my mom was one of the people chosen. The other notable regional show that I saw was Aaron Tveit in Company at the Barrington Stage. So that was really awesome. Me and my sister like got tickets at the last minute. We're like, we're gonna go on a road trip. It was really fun. But he was amazing. I love Aaron Tveit. I mean, he's somewhere on my wall here. There he is. I'm a big fan of his, so that was really awesome, and I love Company. I've seen Company a bunch of times now, but we'll get to that later. Let's just dive in. My stack's right here now. My first show that I ever saw, and this is probably one of my most prized possessions, like of anything, not just of playbills, is the original cast of Wicked. I literally cried when I found this because I thought that I had, I don't know, thrown it away or something, because I was really, really young when I saw this. The show was started in what, like 2003, so I was probably like 5, and I didn't do anything with it when I got home. You know, I probably just gave it to my mom or something. But my dad actually found this in his office, and when he gave it back to me, I literally started crying. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is the original cast. Adina, Kristen, Norbert, all those people. I don't remember the show that well from seeing it the first time because I was a little kid, but I did love it, and I listened to the music like all the time. It was my very first Broadway show. I remember specifically being really scared of the clock dragon. I don't know why, that like as a 5-year-old or however old I was, like terrified me. The thing just looks so like creepy and real. This show is like life-changing. I think a lot of young girls, especially, they go see it, really latch onto it, and I became really obsessed with it. I had already liked musicals, like movie musicals before that I had probably watched with my mom and my sister, but I had never been that into, like, obviously I'd never seen a Broadway musical, so this was a big deal. I think it's really crazy that the first show that I ever saw was an original cast, which I think not a lot of people get to say, even for people that have seen Broadway shows. Like, this is a big deal. It's very yellow now because for a while it was just sitting in my dad's office. It is now in a protective sleeve. So the next show I saw was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang with Raul Esparza, who I'm a big fan of his. However, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is the worst Broadway show I've seen. It's not really the cast's fault. The movie is already very bizarre and not very good. I don't know. It was just a bad choice for a lot of reasons, and there's a lot of bad songs and weird staging, and even as a kid when I saw this, I don't know how old I was because I don't know what year this was, but I was younger than 10, I think, being like, that was strange. And I really liked like Toot Sweets, but a lot of it I was just like, that was very weird and not very memorable. incredible. Doll in a Music Box is a really amazing number in the movie, and it's really good on stage too, so that was cool. But besides that, not the best. I saw this with my dance studio. We like went on a bus trip all together, so that was fun. It was like a fun day, but the show, I never listen to it really anymore except for occasionally a few songs, but yeah, it's whatever. Next is Tarzan, which I also have talked about a little bit on this channel. I mentioned it briefly in my video essay that I made about the musical Annie, how Tarzan the movie is kind of the opposite, and that's why it didn't really work on stage. And I did mention in that video that I did see Tarzan on Broadway, and it was, I think, better than Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but also not great. I love Tarzan, is my favorite Disney movie, and it actually wasn't at the time. It wasn't my favorite movie until I got older, but I still liked it even as a kid, and I was pretty young when I saw this too. It was another one that I went to with my dance studio. It was just a bad choice to bring to stage. Like, it does not work when it's not animated. Like, the effects were cool sometimes. Like, I remember there being this like rainstorm that was really cool looking and other cool like Disney budget effects, but most of it was like weird, and especially because unlike Lion King, where it's all these like kind of cool puppets and the costuming and stuff makes it like stylized, it's like they tried to do that with the animals, but since there's also people, it doesn't work. I don't know, it was just really weird and not very good. And one of my clearest memories of this show was one of the little girls that was staying with us, like a girl from my dance studio, started like bawling during the rainstorm scene. She was like really scared of it and had to like go outside. So if my memories of it aren't really of the show, that's probably not the best indication. One of the actual cool things about this show is it was the first time I ever got to meet an actor, like a Broadway actor, and not because I stage rode, but because my dance teacher was actually friends with Tim Jerome, who played Jane's father. So he like stopped by on our bus and like said hi to all of us, and it was really cool. Us, I don't know, like however old I was when I was like 7 or whatever. So that was fun, even though the show was not the best. They're gonna get a lot better from here. Those are the two worst shows that I've seen. Next is Lion King, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen. This is a very popular show. Obviously, it's been on Broadway for forever, and it's really popular to take young kids to because it's very kid-friendly. Lion King's great. I think if it wasn't good, it probably wouldn't have been on Broadway for so long. The effects are cool, the costumes are cool. It has that Disney budget, so this was the first show that my little brother saw. He must have been like 4. Like, he was really young. He peed his pants on the car ride into the city when we were in Lincoln Tunnel. And we had to stop at like Toys R Us or some other place in Times Square to get him like pants and a pull-up to wear during the show because he peed himself. But he enjoyed the show as a little kid, and I really liked it. I think everyone kind of just enjoys Lion King. It's good music, cool effects. It's a pretty standard show for families and tourists and people like that to go see. I would love to go see it again someday. Just to reevaluate it with more adult eyes. I definitely enjoyed it as a kid, and I still listen to the music sometimes, so yeah. A lot of these I'm realizing now are Disney, but that makes sense because when you're a kid, of course, a lot of the stuff you're gonna see is Disney. But the next one is not technically a playbill, it's a show bill. I think that has something to do with advertising and Disney owning stuff. I don't know, it's something to do with Disney, I think. It's not technically called a playbill, but it is from Broadway at the New Amsterdam Theater. That's Mary Poppins. A lot of people around my age probably also have seen this on Broadway if you were a kid who saw Broadway shows back then. A lot of people probably have seen Mary Poppins production now because it's really popular to do in high schools in the past couple of years. It's pretty much exactly what you'd expect. It's good, again, Disney effects because they have a Disney budget. We're up in the mezzanine, so we were really close to Mary Poppins when she actually flies away at the end, which I was very excited about as a little kid. I saw it with my friend and her mom, so we got really obsessed with supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and I know how to spell it still. I had a shirt, we had shirts that spelled it out, and we did it at the talent show, the 3rd grade talent show, because we had seen the show together. So yeah, this is always can be like a fun memory for me. It's not like my all-time favorite. I like the movie, but it's not even my favorite movie musical, I think, but it's great, and the music is fun, and it's just a fun show. I remember being kind of confused of things that were different from the movie because I was a little kid, so I'd seen the movie a lot. But I'm sure if I saw it again today, I probably wouldn't mind as much. SUPERCALIFRAGILISTICEXPIALIDOCIOUS exclamation point. I hope that was right. We'll test it later when I edit this. Next show that I saw, which is my first repeat and also my first ticket lottery, is Wicked again. So I saw Wicked, I think this was 2011 maybe. My mom just took me on a surprise trip. It was really fun. She didn't tell me what we were doing because we were going through the ticket lottery, which back then was in person. I think all of them were in person still back then. I don't know if there were any online ones. We went in on a Wednesday during my spring break, I think, and we did the matinee lottery so we could stay for the evening lottery if we didn't win. But we did win. We actually both won. So we got, I think, a total of 3 tickets. So the other one, some other person eventually got it or something, but we did get to see it. And the lottery tickets, I don't know if this is still still the case, but at the time it was in the first 2 rows basically. So it's a little, you know, you get a crick in your neck from staring up at the stage a lot, and it's very loud because the orchestra pit is right there. I don't think I really would care now, and I definitely didn't care as a kid. It was just awesome to see Wicked. At the time I had recently like gotten back into the show. Like I always liked it, but then obviously I saw it when I was little. It was the first show that I saw. But as I got older, I started to listen to it more again, and I also had the internet more. The older I got, the more I was allowed to like go on the internet by myself. So I started looking up things about the show online and going onto the official website and stuff like that. So I was really into it. I remember even then, even being like, I probably was like 11 or 12, being really scared of the monkeys. So I had gotten over the time clock dragon thing, but I was really afraid of the monkeys. When you're in the first row, they're like maybe like 4 feet from you. They're very, very close. They were freaky. This is also my first legit stage door experience, but I only met one person. So this was with Nicole Parker and Ali Mossie, who you can see that. She spelled my name wrong when she signed Nicole Parker signed my Playbill, so I crossed out the second N that she wrote with with my own pen. She's the only one that we met at the stage door because my mom insisted on staying in the lobby to take pictures afterwards, of course. And I was like, no, I want to go to the stage door, because I think I had just learned what that was anyway. And we did go, but everyone else had gone already. However, Elphaba has to take a shower, take a full shower, and get off all that green makeup. So we got to meet Nicole Parker. She was really good. I really liked her as Elphaba. I really liked Ali Mossie too. I think the whole cast that I saw was pretty great, but I remember really, really liking Nicole as Elphaba. So the next show that I saw was, I think, a year or 2 later, I saw Billy Elliot. This was actually a trip through Girl Scouts. I saw this with my whole Girl Scout troop, which was very fun. But I was the only one who had watched the movie. My mom and I watched it together before we went to go see it, and we had like a talk about it. It is kind of adult movie. I think it was the first or second rated R movie I'd ever seen, but she wanted me to see it before we went to go see the show so I would know the history of it and everything. There's a lot of stuff that's, I think, for a kid. I was probably 12 when I saw it, so for that age, a little confusing about the whole miners' strike and everything, and the accents are hard to understand. So a lot of the girls in my troop did not understand the show at all. Some of them liked it still, but they were all like, I don't get it. What's going on? Like, why are the dancers and the miners like in the same, why are they dancing together, all this stuff? And I had to like try to explain it to them, and even I didn't fully get it, so it was very confusing. But I loved the show, and the older I got, the more I appreciated it too, obviously. I loved the music, and I still love the music. And it's probably the most explicit album I think that I listened to at the time. Now I've been thinking about it, they curse a lot in this show. I got very obsessed with the show on like, again, on the internet, because I was allowed to use the internet more at that age. So I would watch all like the backstage videos on Broadway.com and that kind of thing. Billy Elliot now is one of my favorite shows. Probably my favorite dance show that I've seen on Broadway. I love Chorus Line, obviously my favorite dance show, but I've never seen it on Broadway. Billy Elliot's like my 3rd favorite movie, I'd say. I don't think you can see it, but it's behind me on my wall. I watch it very, very frequently, and the musical, I think it's on Broadway HD, but I own the Blu-ray of the London production that they made, I think for the 5th anniversary or 10th anniversary or whatever it was. And me and my mom actually went to go see it in the theater. They had like a, you know, one of those like Fathom events kind of things. So I recommend, if you've never seen it, checking out the Blu-ray or DVD or whatever you can get, or if it's on streaming somewhere. I think it might be on Amazon or something too. Next show is Phantom of the Opera. I think it was the first show I saw with my dad. Yeah, my dad went to go see it with, it was like me, my mom, my dad, and my sister. My sister's high school, she was a freshman in high school, actually did a production of it, which is why we all went to go see it together. This is like so crumpled up. I don't know what I did to this thing. I must have put it in my bag or something. Phantom, I liked it more at the time. I think now I'm not really that into it. Not that it's like bad, but it's just a little too over the top for me, which is kind of the point of it, but I'm just not as into that now. I think of Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals, I definitely like Jesus Christ Superstar better. The Chandelier is cool. It's whatever. I think it's just what you expect from it. Next one. This is a really fun one. I think not enough people talk about this show, but it's a really fun show, and that's Fantastic. This is the first off-Broadway show I saw. It's at the Snapple Center, which is still like in Times Square, so it's still like in the theater district, but it's a really small theater because it's the Jerry Orbach Theater. It's like a little black box theater. It's now closed, but it was off-Broadway for a long time, I think, because I've seen it twice. I'll get to that later. The first time I saw it was with Aaron Carter as the boy. If you don't know the show, it's like really, really small cast. It's like 8 different actors, and one of the actors just plays the mute, who just kind of does pantomiming things throughout the show, and it's very simple. It's a really old kind of classic musical. It's a love story. It's very funny and cute. There's like sword fights in it and romance and drama. It's a really fun show that I saw with my whole family. Like, we saw it over spring break. It was the first time we had all gone to see something together. And my sister picked the show because her and my mom went to the TKTS booth to get like discount tickets, and she heard that Aaron Carter was in it, and we're like, we have to go see it now. A lot of you I know that watch my channel are a lot younger than me, or at least a little bit younger younger than me, so you might not know who Aaron Carter is. He's the brother of Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys, and he was like a kind of a pop star back in the day. He had like a guest star on Lizzie McGuire. He had some jams back in the day, so it was really fun to go see him and meet him afterwards at the Stage Door. That's the only show that I've seen with my entire family. It's a really great show. I wish it was still open. Next show is another repeat of Wicked. It's the third time that I saw it. The last time, I haven't seen it again since then. I would love, love, love to see it another time, but hopefully someday, but obviously not now. But this is with #Clendez. Lindsay Mendez was Elphaba, and Derek Klena was Piero. I didn't see Katie Rose Clark as Glinda. She was out that day. I've talked about Wicked already. I love Wicked. It's probably I usually say it's my favorite musical, tied with Into the Woods and Spring Awakening. Those are like my top 3, but they're all so different that I just tie them. But I love Wicked, and this was the most I've ever cried at a show. And it wasn't even because it was sad. It is a sad show at some points, but mostly it's pretty upbeat. But I was just so overwhelmed with like seeing my favorite show that literally I think starting like the second song of the opening act, I started just like crying, and I was just crying through the whole second act. My cousin that I was sitting next to also had already seen it and loved the show, and she was also like crying, and we were like, oh my god, it's Wicked. It was really fun. I think I was like 14 when I saw this. It was the summer before my freshman year of high school. Lindsay Mendez was really great. I've seen her in another show since then. She's really talented. Derek Klena now has been in a lot of stuff. He was really good too. Yeah, and I just remember watching all the Broadway.com vlogs for when Lindsay Mendez was in it, so I was very excited to go see it, and it was a really fun day. Okay, next one is the first ever play that I saw. I've only seen, I think, 3 plays, so it's kind of special, but next one I saw is Glass Menagerie. It's a John Tiffany revival with Zachary Quinto, Celia Keenan-Bolger, Cherry Jones. So this is my 15th birthday present, which might seem a little weird. I don't know what other 15-year-olds are dying to go see the Glass Menagerie on Broadway, but we read it that year in my English class. I think it was like the first book we read the whole year after our like summer reading, and I was like just really, really into it, and I really like related to Tom. I remember having to do these like exercises in our reading notebooks after each like scene or whatever. We would have to rate what we thought of the character, I guess like how much we liked them or how much we sympathized with them, and mine would always be like kind of whatever in the middle for all of them, and like Tom would be like over here. I was like, I relate to him a lot. I don't know what about me as a 15-year-old really, really related to Tom Wingfield, and I love Zachary Quinto. I was a big fan of him back then because of the Star Trek movies, even though I'm not like a huge Star Trek fan. I think the second one had either just come out or was about to come out, so I was very excited to see him in it, and I loved Celia Keenan-Bolger because I loved 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. She should have won the Tony for this. I would love to see her in something else again, but she was great. Cherry Jones was great, obviously, but she was definitely the standout. I think Celia, she's probably one of my favorite like actresses, period. The whole stage was like covered in water kind of, and so it was like reflected. I don't know, the staging was really, really simplistic, but it was really cool. And it was the first play that I saw, and I was also definitely the youngest person in that theater. It was a lot of old men. There was another revival of it a couple years ago, and I'm sure there'll be another one again. It's revived pretty frequently because it's a very famous show. Yeah, I recommend it. Next one. Oh, this is one of my favorites. This is my Newsies Playbill. So this is not my first stage door experience, but it was definitely the one I was most excited for because I was really, really obsessed with this show in a way that I think only 15-year-olds can be. I watched every single YouTube video that had to do with the show. I would go on all these actors' Twitters, even though I didn't even use Twitter back then, really. So me and my mom went to go see Newsies fairly close to when it closed. I think we saw it in March, and I think it closed a couple months later. So I saw it with Corey Cott. Jeremy Jordan had already left. Andrew had already left too. It was Andy Richardson who replaced him. I was so obsessed with the show, guys. I was really obsessed with Ben Fankhauser. And I remember at the stage door, oh my god, I literally, for the first couple people that came out, I was like really excited and was like, great job, you know, thanks for signing, whatever, like kind of small thing I would let out. But literally when Ben Fankhauser came out, and he was one of the last people to come out to the stage door, I literally could not talk. Like I was so excited to meet him. I literally was like, you can ask my mom, I was frozen. I was just like, like just put on my Playbill. Mom's like, she's a really big fan. He's like, oh thanks, it's so nice. They were all really sweet, and I'm sure very used to a lot of young girls going up to them and being like, I love you, you're my favorite. Like, so they were all really, really nice and stuff, but I was very, very starstruck by all of them. And I've talked about that show in my other video, so if you want more details, but of seeing it like at my stage door experience was, it was so good. That still like brings back really good memories. I'll try to put in for shows that I have pictures of. I'll put pictures of up somewhere. I know I like literally, I remember making a collage of me with all the different Newsies and like putting it as my background, talking to all my friends about meeting the Newsies and everything, and they did not care. And I was like, oh my god, Ben Fankhauser. Like literally all my friends probably know so much about Newsies just from me not ever shutting up about it. But you know, that's what it's like when you're 15, so no regrets. regrets. The next show that I saw was for my next birthday, my 16th birthday. So this was like my sweet 16 present. I didn't have a big party or anything. I went to go see Les Mis with a couple of my friends and my sister and my mom. This is the first but not the last show that I saw that I sat in literally the back row of the theater because those are the cheapest seats a lot of the time. And you know, if you're gonna take, I think 6 of us to the show, we do not have the money to go sit anywhere besides there. In my opinion, I'd rather see a show in really shitty seats than not see it at all, so it was fine. It was really awesome. The one thing that was disappointing was that I did not see Ramin. He was out that day, sadly. There was a lot of absences. I think it's probably because we saw it like right before Christmas. Like we saw it at the beginning of winter break. Very, very crowded in the city, and I'm sure people were getting sick and doing things, and Andy was also not there. Ramin's understudy was really good. I'm not saying that he wasn't good, but I love Ramin, so I'm sad I didn't see him, but his understudy was great. It was a really good show. Obviously, it's Les Mis a year or 2 after the movie had come out, and I was very obsessed with the movie. Again, it's evidenced by this. I think you can see that. And my friends were really obsessed with it too, so it was like a big deal. I had bought for all of us, there were these little like Etsy Morse code bracelets with different characters' names on them, and I bought one for each of my friends based on like their favorite characters. So mine said Enjolras on it, my sister said Gavroche. It was a whole thing. It was very 16-year-old me. We went to Schmackery's afterwards. I think I had a maple baking cookie, which I would never eat now, but at the time it was like the famous one that I wanted to eat, and it was really awesome. And then afterwards they slept over and we stayed up and watched like other Broadway stuff, and it was just a really fun day. I wore a tiara and then like a sash that said like Sweet 16 or something, so like people in the streets kept stopping me and saying happy birthday. Next show, I'll try to keep this going faster, is Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Oh my god, this is one of my favorite experiences. Not shows, like it is one of my favorite shows, but it's of the actual experience of going to see this was amazing. I saw Darren Chris's last performance, so I bought the tickets for the last performance like as soon as they went on sale basically, and we had pretty far back in the theater tickets again because I was 16 or whatever and buying them for myself, so it was a birthday present for my sister, a surprise. She didn't know what we were doing. She was so excited when she found out, and it was just so awesome. Like the electricity in that theater of all these Darren Criss fans and Hedwig fans, and people were, you know, wearing crazy clothes, and the show is already, it's like the format of it is basically a concert, so it has that kind of concert energy already where it's not like you're just sitting there like waiting to clap. It's very interactive and you sing along at some points and stuff. It's really fun, and there's a couple of improv moments and things. It's just a really energetic, fun show, and the fact that it was Darren's last performance made it all that more special because it was packed. Every seat was so full, all the standing room seats were taken up and everything. And then afterwards we unfortunately missed him, but I know he did come out onto his car and give a speech because he couldn't obviously like stage door with all those people. There were people on the entire block, like in front of the theater, and then on the entire block across the theater waiting for him. We had to get home. He did come out eventually, and I've seen video of it. I would have loved to see it with anybody. I think all the guys who played Hedwig on Broadway were very, very talented. Ewan Morton, who I saw on the national tour, was also amazing, and I'm sure Lena Hall was really great too. So I would have seen this with anybody, but I'm a huge Darren Criss fan. I have been for a really long time. So seeing him as Hedwig, and it was his last show, was like just beyond belief. It was amazing. It was so much fun. Next show, I'll probably just do these 2 in a row because it's the same show. I saw Spring Awakening twice in the span of a month. So the first time I saw it was my birthday present for my 17th birthday, I think. So I went to go see it with a couple of my friends, and we saw it in November. My birthday's in November, but we saw it like right before Thanksgiving, but it was so warm out that day, I remember. Yeah, I didn't talk about this show in my top 10 musicals of the decade because it had come out in the 2000s and not the 2010s, but I love Spring Awakening so much. I remember after And Then There Were None, the first time I saw it, I literally was like shaking in my seat, and my friends were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just really emotional about it." And I love Michael Arden. I've been a big fan of his for a while, but especially after I saw Hunchback, I'm a really big fan of his acting, but then now also of his directing. And I was really interested in ASL too, even though I only know like a few words, but me and my sister took sign language lessons when I was in like preschool, so I used to know a little bit of it, so I was really interested in the whole sign language portion of it too. That whole thing was really cool, and I think added a whole different layer to the story that wasn't in the original, even though I do love the original too. That is, I'd say, probably my favorite stage door experience now, slightly above Newsies. Newsies was awesome, but seeing Spring Awakening, getting all those signatures was so cool because obviously like half the cast is deaf or hard of hearing, so it was really interesting to see how it all went down, and everyone was so nice, and I don't know, it was just a really, really awesome experience. And I think of all my friends, none of them had ever stage doored before except for me, so I was like, I'll show you the ropes. Sorry if this frame is slightly different. My camera just died. I did not notice. So I was talking about Spring Awakening. I hope all that actually got caught. Yes, I brought my friends all Sharpies, and Daniel Durant, who played Moritz, took my friends and walked away, and then like a couple minutes later he came back back and he was going around and everybody like, you know, is this yours, is this yours? Morris is my favorite character in like any musical, pretty much. So I was really obsessed with him and his character and everything, and I was like, oh no, it's not mine, like I don't know. And he walked away, my friend was like on her phone and she looks up and then like right after he walked away, she went, where's my Sharpie, guys? And I was like, oh my god. And it was really funny. I think Andy did not come out of the stage door at that show, but next time he did. Hopefully you can see that. This is the second time I saw it, like about a month later. I was in like the fan club or whatever, so I would get all the news updates about like tickets. So I think there was a buy one get one, so basically half price. So me, my sister, my mom, and my sister's friend went to go see it. This time it was colder outside, one, and it was also way more crowded. So the first time I went to the stage door, it was like pretty sparse. The second time I went though, it was so crowded, and it was like, I think I was like 3 people deep. Luckily everyone was still so nice that everybody kind of would hand forward other people's playbills. That's one of the things about stage dooring. I know there's always stories about people being rude or whatever, but most of my experiences, people have been just so sweet, and like everyone was just helping each other and just like, oh, do you want to get a picture with this person? Do you want to, I can hand them your playbill, like where you want them to sign it. Even with the super crowded stage, it was still a really, really fun experience. But it was a really awesome show. I wish it could have been on Broadway for longer, but I know it was a limited run. Might be controversial, but me and my sister agree they should have won Best Choreo at the Tonys. They weren't even nominated. Hamilton won. I like the choreo for Hamilton. I just watched it on Disney Plus and it was great. I'm not saying it was bad, but I'm saying Spring Awakening choreography was a lot better. That's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but whatever. Next show, I'm probably not going to talk about too much because I talked about it a lot in my video, but it's Gentleman's Guide. Yeah, we were going to visit NYU and we were already there, and since we had already, spent money on train ticket or however we got into the city, we're like, hey, let's just see if we can get really cheap tickets. And we went around and I was like, oh, I wonder if Gentleman's Guide is gonna be cheap since they're closing so soon. They were literally closing the next day, and we went in and we're like, do you think you have any standing room? They're like, we can't sell them yet because it's not technically sold out yet, whatever. They're like, but if you come back at like this time, whatever, you can probably get them. So we came back, we got standing room tickets for like $30 or something. Super, super cheap. I don't know if this is all theaters, but most theaters, they tell you if you have standing room that you can move forward after intermission if anything is open up. So I got to move up to the orchestra. So the first half I had a standing room, but the second half I had like center orchestra, like very good, probably like row G or row F or something like that. So really good tickets. It was really awesome. Stage door was like literally just like us and like 2 other people, but we were like, hey, let's just do it. Next show is gonna make me cry. It's another one I talked about a lot in my top 10 list. That's Fun Home. I fucking love Fun Home, guys. It's like already making me emotional talking about it. I talked a lot about what I like about this show, but I kind of want to talk more about my personal experience seeing it rather than just the show itself. So I saw this show with my mom. It was the second ticket lottery I think that I won. Well, technically she won because it was the first online one that we ever were entering. You can only technically enter if you were 18. I think I was 17 at the time. So my mom was entering like every day in the summer because I really wanted to see it and she really wanted to see it. We never won, of course, whenever we had like a free day, but the one day we did finally win. We were driving my grandmother to go to some appointment in like Pennsylvania. So we were pretty far from my house already, but then even farther from New York City. On the way home, I got a notification on my mom's phone that's like, congratulations, you won the Fun Home ticket lottery. And I was like, oh shit, we gotta figure this out. We did not have that much time, so what we had to do was basically like drive home, basically like push my grandma out of the car, be like, okay, go back to your house now, because she had her car parked in our driveway. And then my dad, originally we were gonna take the bus, but he read the bus schedule wrong and we missed the bus. So he drove us up to Secaucus and we took the Secaucus Junction train, and we got there with like 2 minutes to spare. We got to the theater. You had to be there like 15 minutes before. And I remember being so nervous. One, because I thought we weren't going to get to see it because we weren't going to get there in time. We just got there in time. But 2, it was even more because I was like so deeply in the closet then that I was like so stressed out about seeing the show that I knew that I would love and I loved the music for and I really wanted to read the book of, and I was like, I gotta keep my cool, I gotta not have a super emotional reaction to this, I gotta be like, keep my straight face on. And I remember being so nervous that whole drive up and the whole train ride there, sitting in the show being like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, you gotta be straight, like, and it was bad, but it was an amazing show, and of course I cried anyway, and my mom cried too, so whatever. It all turned out fine. I came out eventually. But yeah, that show was like very, very impactful on 17-year-old me. I'm sure on a lot of other people. It's always like when you're like not supposed to laugh, you laugh more. So the more I was telling myself like, don't get emotional, don't cry, the more I wanted to cry. So it was like, did not help. I did not help myself in that situation. But whatever, I'm very glad I saw it, and I'm very glad I got the opportunity to see it before it closed, because it wasn't on Broadway for that long. But it's an amazing show. Check out my video if you want to hear me almost cry about it again there. Next show I saw, something probably a lot of you have seen because it's on Netflix, and that's Oh Hello on Broadway with John Mulaney and Nick Kroll. This show is so funny. A lot of the next couple shows that I'll talk about, I got tickets from TDF, which is an organization that they run the TKTS booth in New York City, if you've ever been to Times Square, and they do like discounted tickets for students and teachers and all sorts of people. You can like become a member if you're in certain groups. So at the time I was a student, so that's how I got them. I think it's like $35 a year, something like that. I got the tickets for this on TDF, like partial view, but they were like $30 maybe. When I found out they were on TDF, I was like, okay, I have to get this because I want to take my brother. When am I ever gonna get to take my brother, who's not a big fan of Broadway, to go see a show that he will like? And he loves John Mulaney, so I was like, oh, he'll definitely like this. So I took my brother and my dad, and I didn't tell him what we were going to do. All he knew was that we were going to the city. He didn't know what we were going to do. And my dad said, oh yeah, so on, Saturday when we go see that show. And I was like, he's not supposed to know that. Because I knew he would figure it out if he knew that we were going to see a Broadway show. Like, what other Broadway show would I be taking him to? But apparently, I was actually wrong. He didn't figure it out. He thought that we were going to see Book of Mormon when we went to the city. He's like, oh, I thought we were going to see Book of Mormon. I was like, no, I can't pay for those tickets. But he loved it. I loved it. My dad loved it. They play like Steely Dan throughout the theater, and they have like a little bar in the basement. My dad was getting a drink. He's like, oh, I love this music. This is great music. Lo and behold, if you've seen the show, they make like all these Steely Dan jokes. My dad was like cracking up. I highly recommend it if you have Netflix. If you like John Mulaney, you like Nick Kroll, you like their type of humor, it's exactly up your alley, I think. Fun little thing about this show, it is scripted. It's pretty much fully scripted, but there are some moments of improv and stuff, and since it's just the two of them, and they've been doing it for so long, they do kind of like allow themselves a little room for improv at some points. And one of the things when we saw it was that Nick Kroll had actually hurt his shoulder, and they made a lot of jokes about it in the show. And I was like, oh, I wonder when they record it what those jokes will be, and they weren't there. There were like different jokes, so I was like, that's fun that we got to see that completely unique experience. Our Too Much Tuna guest was Jake Lacey. He was really funny. He talked about this summer job that he had, that they basically hired him because they knew he would do really bad. It's a great show. Yeah, watch it on Netflix. Hey everyone, so I'm editing this and it turned out way longer than I expected it to, so I'm going to cut it into two parts. This is part one. Part two will be up soon. Like, subscribe, leave your comments. Yeah, thanks. Bye.